just like to talk about school nutrition briefly if we could. Jeannie?
Thank you.
Thanks, it was so casual. Yeah, I just want to talk briefly, get an update from you guys about school nutrition. It's rough out there. There are major food shortages, and I'm getting calls and emails from parents that are rightfully concerned. You know, like their children have been advised that they'll get a yogurt and a peanut butter cracker and a fruit and a veg sticks or something, and then all they get is a little pack of like lunch meat and like a ho-ho or something. So that's not the actual one. I can pull up the email, but they don't get a fruit, or whatever. So I get it, supply chain, but we have hungry children in our schools. So what can we do if there's a shortage of Uncrustables? Where do we just get bread and peanut butter and jelly?
So the supply chain has impacted our regular menu. It should not impact our ability to provide the same staples that we always have. So we've heard 2 or 3 complaints, and Kristen Noss, either I forwarded those or Dr. Towns has forwarded those to Kristen, and Kristen's gone out and worked with the individual cafeterias to make sure that they're providing exactly what they should be. The disruption, what parents will see that we need to be clear about is, you know, the menu that we used to put out once a month that told them exactly what would be served that day in the cafeteria. That's not going to be realistic just because the supply chain is so messed up. But in terms of getting, you know, their meat, vegetable, fruit, milk, all the standard staples, that should be taking place in every school. And if it's not, we need to know about it so we can go address it with those cafeterias.
Okay. Yeah, it was concerning.
And there have been, just to be clear, a couple that we've had to go address and correct and make sure that they're serving what they should be.
Okay. When do we expect that it's going to be fixed, and how are we? So this is, the real lunch they're promising is yogurt, a cheese stick, and saltines / Cheez-Its. That's the actual lunch that's being promised.
That shouldn't be right.
Yogurt, saltines,
Yeah, that shouldn't be
cheese
right.
sticks, 0 fruits, 0 vegetables.
Where'd that come from?
CSLA.
Yep.
My 8th grade boy was given a little bag of bologna circles and a box of raisins for his lunch Tuesday. Is
I can
that one
send
you've
that
looked
too.
at?
I don't recall CSAS being one
No,
of
not
the-
CSAS, CSLA.
No, I don't recall CSLA being one of the ones.
And they won't have peanut butter and jelly again until January.
I'll reach out to Kristen Noss and get an update and get that sent out to you guys tomorrow.
I mean, she asked a really valid question. She said, I can't decide what part of me bothers me the most, and Uncrustables and Cheez-It shortage is causing kids to go hungry? Seriously? We can't buy enough low nutritious value stuff to keep students from being hungry, but why aren't we cooking real food? Which is a whole other question that, you know, is worth us digging into as a board at some point, but.
Well, the Uncrustables should not be the main course is the point. That should be a
Okay.
secondary option. So,
Okay.
I mean, the point is there should be a first option that meets standards, and then if there is a Crustable, that should be a secondary
Okay,
option.
got it. Okay, thank you very much.
Ms. Jones?
So I'm confused, really bothered. I think that's the better word. So I know we know there's a shortage. I mean, we know that supply chains and transportation and all of that. But I think as a board, I would feel comfortable providing some type of budgetary amendment to let you go to Sam's or something. Like, I just don't really understand why kids are not getting a meat and vegetables and fruit. Like, when I went to school, we had even pre-pandemic, I don't know, why am I able to eat that at home and they can't eat that at school? I think I'm struggling with the access, like what?
There's that. I mean, this is the point. There should be. So
Okay,
if there's
'cause I'm
not,
like-
we need to address it, and so we'll reach out about CSLA with school nutrition and make sure that they have. If they don't have access to their current vendor, there are other vendors that we can go to.
Ms.
I just want to clarify, whenever you say the word should be, what you mean is that, to your knowledge, there is?
Right.
Okay, I want to clarify that. Okay.
And I would just like to add, we're up in terms of our participation in school lunch and breakfast this year. So we have not heard, we get quick tips, as Justin said all the time. We have not heard this specific complaint around CSLA. But as Justin noted, I mean, we feel pretty confident that we do know that we're getting the staples that we expect, and that we've actually got school. I think I shared this in a board update. We're about 10% up in our participation rates this school year. So we will follow up on that specific issue, and then I will make sure that we let the board know before Thursday, like what exactly are we doing? What's the minimum standard? Because it would not be what you described. Saltines and
just-
cheese stick
That's
is
like
not
what
lunch.
I would pack my children.
No.
And I'm as a social worker, I'm concerned about that. Jenny, at least get a Lunchable
And we're basically vegetarian,
My kids
so.
get Lunchables.
and some carrot sticks or something. No, in all seriousness though, I do think that is something we strongly need to consider, because I mean, it's kind of like making a repast meal. It's not hard to get a can of green beans, a can of corn, a little salt and pepper and butter, a little green bean, a little chicken broth. Like, it's not, some of this stuff is not hard, and I don't know. I mean, and I guess I've heard students complain about meals prior to COVID. I've been more in schools these past few weeks. I was at a school last week with Tucker when we were visiting, and I pulled him in there, like, look at this tray, like, look at this, like, look at what they're eating. I wouldn't eat that, and I mistakenly said that in front of a kid, but I wouldn't. Like, I wouldn't have eaten that if I was that kid. I wouldn't have wanted that. I would have walked straight through the line. So I do think that's something that we need to look at, because back when I was in school, I couldn't wait for school lunch. Miss Allison and all her crew was making homemade food, and we was tearing it up. So that's a big concern for me, especially in my schools. I hope my schools aren't eating like that, because they really would be.
Yeah. Since CSLA is in my district, I had not heard the exact things that I'd heard the issues, and I talked to.
My intent to bring it
Oh,
up. I'm not
yeah, of
trying to
course.
throw anybody
Of
under
course.
the bus.
I talked to Miss Principal Scarborough there, and she sent something out to her parents and whatnot. I will say, Dr. Towns or Dr. Robertson, if the board, I think we'll probably all think lunch and providing a hot meal or nutritious meal is important. And I know nutrition is self-funded. Like, if we need to, due to, inflation, supply chains, if we need to invest in other resources for the short term, I think we could probably all agree that that's vitally important. And if we need to go out to other vendors, so we can work on that.